Hello, hello. This is for lesson 3. This is the doodle notes or the foldable for lesson 3. You will need a paper that looks like this. It's at the supply shelf. This is what it looks like on one side. This is what it looks like on the other. Oops. Just right here. So go ahead and get this paper from the supply shelf. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to put your name on it. On this side, it says name right here. So you're going to put your name on it. And I'm going to put my name on this one. Long green. Just like that. So make sure that your name gets on this. The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to cut all along the outside of this box. So you will need some scissors. Go ahead and get some scissors. Cut it out along this outer edge all the way around. And then after that, you're going to cut it along these dotted lines. So I already have one that I've cut, and this is what it looks like. So when it is cut, you will see that there are 2 lines like this. So it looks like there's 3 flaps. So you can go ahead and pause now while you do that and then come back. So let's move on. We have our pieces cut. And what you're going to do is you're going to fold each piece down so that it just covers that box. So see how this box is going to cover up that box. This box is going to cover up that box. So when we have those folded down, this is what it's going to look like. Just like this. All right, now that you have these folded like this, we're going to go ahead and get started with what goes inside. You will need some colored pencils. I'm going to use my fancy pens because I like my fancy pens. I am using these colors. So make sure that you get similar colors. They can be colored pencils preferably, or if you color lightly, you can get markers as well. You just don't want them to bleed through too much. So I prefer colored pencils, but yeah, I'm going to use my pens though. These pens don't bleed through very well. So I'm going to go ahead and open mine up like this. And we're going to start on the solids side of this right here, this box right here. So solids have a definite shape and a definite volume. This means that their shape and their volume do not change. And then particles in a solid have very little energy. They don't have very much energy. They are packed together and they vibrate in place. So solids have a definite shape and a definite volume. So the shape and the volume do not change. Particles in a solid have very little energy. They are packed together and vibrate in place. So the particles would be like the molecules or the atoms that are in the substance when it's a solid. So if we go back to the front, the solids right here, I'm going to use my dark and light blues. You can just do blue for this if you want, but I'm going to use my dark and my light blue. And I'm going to draw the particles inside of a solid. This is what they look like. We have our particles like this, and they're really tightly packed together. They're almost like touching each other, like that. Oops, those ones are a little bit far away, but that's okay. They're all really tightly packed like this. And I'm just gonna color some more dots, and I'll be back when I'm done. Okay, now that I'm done coloring in my solid particles, this is what it looks like. You notice that the particles are very organized. They're crystallized together in a very organized manner, and the particles, they vibrate against each other, but they do not really move that much. All they're doing is vibrating really quickly. Okay, so let's go to the next box. The next box is liquids. Okay, so liquids take the shape of their container. So whatever the container they're in, they take that shape. But they do have a definite volume. So their shape will change, but their volume will not change. So the amount of space they take up never changes. They always take up the same amount of space. Liquid particles have a medium amount of energy. are loosely packed together and they slide around each other. So if we go back to this right here, I'm going to use yellow because yellow to me represents like medium amount of energy. It's not really hot or cold. It's in between. I'm going to start drawing my particles. Now my particles, these are really light. These particles are still going to be like touching each other, not as closely, and they are not going to be organized. They're just going to be kind of sliding past each other. So there isn't going to be any like rhyme or reason to where they're placed, and they will not take up the space of the container. They're not going to go all the way up here. So if I have that much liquid, they're just going to go all the way down to the bottom like this. Like that. So they're not super organized, they're just in there. Okay. So let's go to this box now. This box is for gases. Gases do not have a definite shape or volume, which means that their shape and the amount of space they take up can change very easily. Particles in gases move freely and have lots of energy. So the way that these particles look, I'm going to use red. Kind of looks orange on the camera, but it's definitely red, to represent my particles. Now, particles in gases are never close together. They're always far apart. So there'd be like one here, one here, one here. So your gas would look something like this. And they would be flying everywhere. This one would go that way, that one would go that way, right? All these are just going in random directions. Sometimes they bounce into each other, but they're just flying everywhere. Okay. So do you notice how I have blue here? These mean that solids are really cold compared to liquids and gases. And then liquids have a medium amount of energy. So the particles are moving and sliding, but they're not like going crazy yet. And then when it goes to a gas, these particles are flying everywhere. They have tons of energy. So we're going to use our colors to color down here. See how it says least energy, most energy? Solids have least amount of energy. Gases have the most amount of energy. So I'm going to color in these triangles, these little arrows, with the correct colors. And I will come back when I am done coloring these. Okay, so I finished coloring my arrows, where I have red arrows over here because gases are very hot. They have lots of energy. Solids are very cold. They have very little energy. And liquids are right in the middle. So I kind of put like a little bit of cold, medium, a little bit of warm in there. If you want, you can just color it all yellow if that's easier for you. Okay, next let's talk about matter. Matter is anything that has mass and takes up space. Matter is anything that has mass and takes up space. So for something to be a solid, a liquid, or a gas, it has to be matter. So things like light or pure energy is not matter because you have to have mass and it has to take up space in order to be a solid, a liquid, or a gas. The very last thing I'm going to have you do, and I'm not going to do it for you, is open this up, and I want you to come up with at least 4 examples for each of these states of matter. At least 4. If you can think of more, great. Once you're done with this, go ahead and fold it up and make sure your name is on it and turn it into the bin.